Zimbabwe is back. I am going to make you understand how this affects you and what you must do to be part of the story of Zimbabwe's comeback economy. The International Monetary Fund just looked Zimbabwe into the eye and they said, you are going to grow 6% in the next 365 days and you will become the fastest growing economy in Africa. Not maybe, not if conditions are met. You are going to grow 6% guaranteed. What makes this a moment in time is they said it out loud in public to the world with their official letterhead and stamp, which means somewhere in this world, billionaires just Googled Zimbabwe. My name is Lumumba, your explainer-in-chief. Let me take you back to 2017. Mnangagwa steps into office and he takes over an economy that was not just sick. We had become the patient that every doctor would write off, a hopeless prognosis of futile care. The world had filed us under the category of do not resuscitate. If you can imagine a patient who's lying in a hospital bed in the ICU as Zimbabwe. Now I want you to imagine the face of the president as he walks in. He didn't just see Zimbabwe. What he felt is what you and me perhaps would feel if that patient was your only child. It was an impossible attempt. The president said, roll up your sleeves. He kicked everybody out. He said, get me the best minds and bring them into the room. He took the greatest banker we've ever produced in Zimbabwe, in George Guva Matanga. He took a professor who's the highest order in the merit of economics out of Switzerland, Butuli Ncube, and he said, we're not going to accept this as our ending. It's time to make our choices. And those choices were choices that would make enemies. Mnangagwa chose discipline. He chose transparency with lenders when secrecy would have been a much easier option. And those choices were not popular. They were very necessary. Now, the IMF doesn't do sentiment. They don't do hopeful narratives. They look at the numbers, they look at the behavior, and they look at whether you're going to default on your debt or you're actually going to pay it back. What the IMF has just done is they have just told the world, Zimbabwe is back. It's not an opinion, it's a verification. And it's not just them. The United Nations World Tourism Organization just made Zimbabwe its vice president. That's not a ceremonial post. It means the global tourism bosses are now looking to us for direction. Aliko Dangote, Africa's richest man, he visited Zimbabwe under Robert Mugabe and he was spooked by the instability. He left and said, I'd never come back. He called the president last week and said, you know what, I'm in. Billionaires don't make emotional decisions. His confidence is a signal flare to every investor on the continent that this country is now risk acceptable. Do you see what's happening here? It's not just that we survived. It's that we've become interesting again. The world stopped watching us as a cautionary tale and started watching us as a case study. Here's where I need to ground the understanding of what this really means for you. The whole 6% GDP growth thing sounds like economic juggling to most. Let me translate it. In 2017, when ED became president, Zimbabwe's GDP was $27 billion. GDP shows the size and health of a country's economy. So if a GDP is growing, it usually means the country and the economy is doing well and you're producing more. If the GDP is shrinking, it means the economy is slowing down and you're producing less. In short, GDP tells you how much stuff, products or services a country makes, converted into money over a set period of time. The bigger the GDP, the bigger the economy. Now, in the next 360 days, the single most powerful international monetary organization says Zimbabwe will grow to 52 billion. Since ED became president, the size of the entire pot of our country, the size of the entire pot we're all eating from, has doubled. Take a look at Delta Beverages, the company that makes most of the drinks you buy. Their sales jumped from 4.8 million hectoliters to 44 million hectoliters in the time ED has been president. I want you to think about that for a second. That means more business for trucking companies, more business for drivers. That means more drivers are getting paid. People do not drink to get drunk. People buying drinks means we have more to celebrate, we have more events. People have more money. When ED became president, David Whitehead had been shut down for years. A factory that once employed 5,000 people plus brought in $30 million worth of spending within the Kadoma economy. It was dead. Today, the machines are up and working again. New workers are being trained. New investors have pumped in $50 million to give it another chance at life. If you see people who post cars, money, food on social media, they're celebrating prosperity. I understand some of them are obnoxious because we all celebrate money differently, but they're not celebrating luck. They're celebrating that it's their turn. ED did all the hard work that is earning us the right to feel that relief. Here's what this moment reminds me of. Have you ever watched the movie Shawshank Redemption? There was a prisoner, his name was Andy, spent 19 years digging through the sewage pipe to escape captivity. 19 years, 1 inch per night. And when he finally crawls through the pipe and he emerges into the rain, free, alive, and reborn, that scene, that moment of emergence is where Zimbabwe is right now. We are crawling out of the pipe. The tears on our faces are not just relief, they're vindication. That spending is vindication. Or think of Liverpool Football Club, 30 years, 3-0, without winning the Premier League. 30 years of heartbreak, of being told your glory days are behind you. And then in 2020, they win it. The moment that Jurgen Klopp saw that they'd actually done it, he didn't celebrate wildly. In fact, he cried. Because vindication, real vindication, it hits you like everybody was wrong and we were right. We persisted. Here's the part I need to say with real seriousness. Just like the Liverpool story, we're not yet home. We left the ICU into the HDU, still monitored, still fragile. We're still one major shock away from catastrophe. The IMF didn't say, now you can relax. They said, now you can borrow. And you better not waste it. Which brings me to the point that I think ought to matter to you the most, access to credit. This is the next revolution. The people who were once financially excluded can now be financially included. George Guvamatanga understands this because he basically dealt with it every day as a banker when he was at Barclays. It's the tomato vendor who's on the corner who comes and wants to borrow $20 and spin it, bring it back within the week. It's the young person who walks in with a big idea, but the bank wants to ask them for a title deed. We finally have an opportunity where this is no longer going to be the hindrance. ED has delivered, but only if these people continue to manage the recovery and stay disciplined. The addition of John Mushayavanu completes the big three for ED's dream team in the Treasury Department. Mutuli Ngube will bring you the direction to how you get the president's vision. George Guvamatanga is so aggressive and such a gangster. He's going to give you the feet that are going to take all the thorns they have to get you there. But when you add John to that, what you now have is you also have discipline. He will bring very, very steady hands. You have to understand that recovery is fragile. In fact, it is easier to break than to build. 1 year of fiscal irresponsibility, one scandal that spooks the investors, one moment where people lose trust and the patient is back in the ICU, and this time it will be harder to come out once you go back in there. So don't just celebrate the comeback, participate in maintaining it. When you see your representative talking about the budget, don't scroll past it. You have to ask, where's that money going? You saw Tinoma Chakaire, the Minister of Youth, asking for 25% of all expenditure to be selfishly guarded for young people and their ideas. Tatenda Mavetera brought up new issues to the fore and Jacob Mudenda edified them. People thought Mudenda attacked Matevera. Are you kidding me? Mudenda is the one who requested the meeting to be conducted by the Ministry of Finance so that Matevera could air out her ideas. That wasn't an attack on her. That was Mudenda challenging her, and that is precisely what his job is. Whether you agree or you disagree, they were participating, and you have to ask yourself the question, if you are. When you see corruption, act for corruption and not politics, you must continue to speak, because the thieves are also watching this recovery. They are licking their lips. Zimbabwe is back, and it's not a slogan, it's a verified fact. But back is not the same as safe. Back means we are awake, we're in this game. It means we're moving. The next 5 years will determine whether this is a recovery or a renaissance. And that's entirely on you. So tonight, celebrate, breathe easy, let yourself feel proud. But tomorrow, get back to work again. Because the easiest way to lose a recovery is to assume that it's permanent. Until next time, head bowed.